If you own a rental property, there's one phrase that will haunt you, confuse you, cost you money, sometimes even cost you a lawsuit. That phrase is normal wear and tear. It sounds simple. It actually is not. I've watched landlords lose thousands of dollars because they tried to charge a tenant for something that they were legally required to absorb themselves. And I've watched landlords eat damage they had every right to deduct just because they did not know where the line was. So today I'm going to give you that line. I'm going to walk you through exactly what normal wear and tear is, where it comes from, why the law treats it the way it does, and I'm going to give you 10 real world situations where I see landlords get this wrong often. Stick with me because by the end of this video, you're going to look at your next move out inspection with a completely different set of eyes. I'm Don Harkins. I'm a real estate broker. We have offices throughout Central Florida and the Space Coast, and we are helping landlords rent their properties faster for more money, keep tenants in the properties longer, and keep maintenance costs down. We're passionate about helping landlords turn their investments into truly passive wealth building income properties. If you have any questions about property management or investing in property throughout Central Florida or the Space Coast, shoot me a DM, leave me a message, or send me an email. We'd be happy to talk with you about what your investment goals are. Now, getting back to normal wear and tear, let's start with the definition because this is the foundation everything else is built on. Normal wear and tear is the natural, gradual, and unavoidable deterioration of a property that happens from reasonable everyday use over time in the absence of negligence, carelessness, accident, or abuse by the tenant. So I know that's a mouthful, but the words we're paying closest attention to are natural, gradual, unavoidable, reasonable everyday use. Those are the magic words. And if the deterioration would have happened no matter who lived in that unit, assuming they were a normal human being living a normal life, that is wear and tear. And it's your cost as the owner. If the deterioration happened because the tenant did something they should not have done or failed to do something they should have done, that's damage and that belongs to the tenant. So, where does the idea come from? Why is the law written this way? This goes all the way back to basic landlord tenant law. And the principle is actually pretty fair when you think about it. When a tenant pays rent, part of what they're paying for is the use of the property. Use, by definition, creates wear. You cannot live somewhere without leaving traces that you lived there. Carpets compress, paint fades, finishes dull, caulk shrinks, appliances age. None of this is the tenant's fault. It is the cost of doing business as a landlord, and it's supposed to be built into your rent and into your budget and your long term capital plan for the property. The security deposit is not there to renovate your unit. The security deposit is there to protect you from damage beyond normal wear and tear and from unpaid rent. That's it. Those are the guardrails. And when landlords try to stretch the security deposit into a renovation fund, that is when they end up in small claims court, losing two and three times what they tried to withhold in the first place. In Florida, specifically where we're located, under Chapter 83 of the Florida Statutes, if you wrongfully withhold a deposit, you could be on the hook for the tenant's attorney fees as well. So this is not just a philosophical debate, it has real dollar consequences in the world of investing in property maintenance. So let's get practical. Let me walk you through the misconceptions I see most often and picture each of these because the difference between wear and damage is almost always in the details. So, misconception number one, small nail holes in the wall. A tenant hangs some family photos, a couple of pieces of art, maybe a mirror over the couch. When they move out, you see a bunch of small nail holes, and many landlords want to charge for this. You cannot. Small nail holes from hanging normal decor are the textbook example of normal wear and tear. People live in homes, people hang things on walls. That is expected. Now, if you see giant anchor holes, like maybe the size of a quarter or larger because they mounted a 75-inch TV on drywall with no stud, or if you see dozens and dozens of holes all over every wall, or if you see holes that were patched with really poor workmanship and spray painted over the wrong color, this is falling more into the damage category. The test is always going to fall back to reasonable use. A dozen small nail holes across a whole apartment is reasonable. 40 holes in one bedroom wall from a gallery is probably not. Misconception number two is worn carpet. We see this all the time, especially in traffic areas. After a 2 or 3 year tenancy, the carpet in front of the couch, in the hallway, at the top of the stairs, it's gonna look different than the carpet under the bed. That's just physics, that's gravity plus footsteps over time. You cannot charge a tenant for that. A red wine stain the size of a dinner plate in the middle of the living room, a burn mark from a curling iron, pet urine that's soaked through to the carpet pads, these are damage. And this is where tenancy length matters as well. The IRS and some state guidelines treat carpet as having a useful life of 5 to 7 years. So if a tenant lived in your unit for 6 years and the carpet is worn out, that carpet was at the end of its life anyways. You do not get to charge them for replacement. You were going to have to do it regardless. Misconception number three, faded paint or minor wall scuffs. Paint fades, sunlight fades paint, air fades paint, minor scuffs from a chair back, from a vacuum cleaner, from a couch that lived against the wall for 2 years. All of that is normal wear and tear. Most jurisdictions and most depreciation schedules treat interior paint as having a useful life of about 2 to 3 years. So if your tenant lived there for 3 years, you are repainting no matter what. What is not wear and tear is a child's crayon mural in the hallway, cigarette smoke film that yellowed every ceiling, or someone attempting a DIY accent wall in lime green without asking permission. That's damage. Those are things that you can charge for. Misconception number four, hardwood floor scuffs. Hardwood floors are expensive. We're seeing hardwood flooring costs right now up to $20 a square foot for product and material, not installation. So hardwood floors develop a patina, they dull, they show faint scratches from dining chairs, maybe from dogs with untrimmed nails, or from grit tracked in from outside. A responsibly tenanted hardwood floor will not look brand new after 2 years, and it's not supposed to. What is damaged is a deep gouge from dragging a refrigerator, water damage from an overflowing dishwasher the tenant never reported, again, pet urine stains that have penetrated the finish. The key phrase there is penetrated. Surface wear belongs to the landlord. Structural or penetrating damage typically belongs to the tenant. Misconception number five, appliance wear. The stove knobs are a little faded. The dishwasher interior has some mineral deposits. The refrigerator door seal is starting to soften. This is wear, and wear. You are not getting a brand new appliance back just because you put a brand new appliance in. Now, if the stovetop is cracked because the tenant dropped a cast iron pan on a glass cooktop, or the dishwasher rack is broken because they slammed it shut, or the refrigerator has a broken shelf because they overloaded it, that's all damage. And you want to pay attention to the pattern here because it keeps repeating. Wear is what happens over time, damage is what people do abruptly. Misconception number six, bathroom fixtures and caulking. Caulk shrinks, grout darkens. Mineral deposits are going to build up on faucets and shower heads. Toilet seats loosen. All of that is wear and tear. A cracked toilet tank, a shower pan with a hole punched through it, a sink that has been separated from the wall because someone sat on it or pulled on it, that's damage. And a pro tip, if you see heavy mineral deposits and you did not provide a water softener and you live in an area with hard water, that's not neglect. That's just, again, normal wear and tear. It's chemistry. If you try and charge a tenant for that and they object, you're going to have a hard time winning that case. Misconception number seven, dirty versus filthy. A unit that needs a standard cleaning after move out is probably going to be a landlord problem, depending on your lease. And this is a good place just to give a caveat that your lease is going to set the standard and create the agreement between landlord and tenant. However, there is statute, there is law that prevents landlords from overburdening tenants with standards that just go above and beyond what's fair and reasonable. So, standard cleaning versus deep cleaning. If there's dust on the baseboards, if there's little grease on the stovetop, if there's some soap scum in the shower, The kind of thing a cleaning crew handles in a couple hours, that's just normal turnover stuff. A unit that's biohazard level with food rotting in the fridge, trash left behind, pet feces, smoke saturation in drapes or walls, that's all damage again. That's going to fall outside of normal wear and tear. The bar is not spotless here, the bar is reasonable. Misconception number 8, blinds and window treatments. Blinds get dusty, cords get worn out, they get frayed, slats get yellow with sun exposure. This is all wear. Stuff that wouldn't be wear would be missing blinds, snapped slats from a dog or a child, or cords that were cut because someone couldn't figure out how to operate them. That all falls in the damage category. Misconception number 9, light bulbs, batteries, and filters. I get asked about this a lot. In most leases, and certainly in most well written leases, tenants are responsible for replacing light bulbs, smoke detector batteries, and HVAC filters during their tenancy. If those items are missing or depleted, dead at move out, then that is not wear and tear. That's a lease violation if your lease is written that way. And you can deduct for the cost to replace these air filters, smoke detector batteries, light bulbs. Misconception number 10, this will be the last one we do, and this is the one that trips people up arguably the most. Length of tenancy changes the math on almost everything. The longer a tenant is in your property, the more wear is allowable, and the less you can reasonably charge against their deposit. A tenant who lived in your property for 8 years is going to hand it back to you in noticeably worse shape than a tenant who lived there for 8 months. And that's not just okay, it's expected. The flip side of that is also true. If something looks overly aged after a short tenancy, it's a red flag worth investigating. So, as a landlord, it's very important that you're budgeting for your normal maintenance, for your capital expense replacement, budgeting for your painting, budgeting for your appliances. And how do you, at the end of the day, protect yourself through all of these items? There's 3 things that we think you should do as a landlord to protect yourself. And we do these for all of our customers. Number 1, document the condition of the property at move-in with dated photos and a signed move-in inspection report. We actually do this digitally at our company. When we're moving a tenant in, we actually complete a pre-move-in inspection with photos, with video, with notes, and we have the tenant acknowledge and sign that to draw a nice clean line in the sand. The next thing you have to do the same thing at move out. And this has to be quickly after move out, like the next day or within a couple days. Photos are super cheap. Lawsuits are not cheap. So having great documentation is going to be your best friend in this process. And third, when you're in doubt, think in terms of useful life. So there's depreciation schedules that are available on everything from the IRS guides to regular landlord property investment books and forums. But pay attention to what the useful life is in these different items. Paint generally has a useful life of 2 to 3 years, for instance. Carpet, typically 5 to 7 years. Appliances, typically about 10 years. So ask yourself, evaluate if this item is at the end of its useful life anyways. Am I really entitled to charge the tenant for replacing it? And the honest answer will help guide you and help you avoid frivolous, contentious disagreements with tenants. And so the mindset to really take away here is wear and tear is not your tenant punishing your property. Wear and tear is your property doing its job. A rental is a wealth building, wealth generating tool. Tools wear out. You need to budget for it. You need to plan for it. You need to price your rent for it. And you need to stop fighting it. A lot of things, or a lot of times, one mistake that landlords make is a tenant is in their property and they are afraid to have the tenant move out. So they don't raise the rent on the tenant because they're afraid if they raise the rent, the tenant's going to vacate and that's going to create a vacancy and create more expense. What happens is over time, if you assume inflation at 3% a year and you don't renew once, you don't renew twice, you don't renew 3 times, depending on the cost of the property, over a 3 or 4 year period, that could be the difference in $500 a month in rent. And so a landlord who's appropriately increasing their rents can reinvest in the property without cutting into their bottom line. They can budget for these repairs and replacements and not have to go after and fight for a deposit from what at the end of the day was just a really good tenant living their normal life. So save your energy and your deposit deductions for actual damage because that's where they belong, that's where they'll hold up. If you found this helpful and you want a property management team that knows this stuff inside and out, we deal with this every day. You want someone who will protect your deposit deductions and when they are legitimate, and then talk you out of the ones that are not, get in touch with us. We do this all the time. We'd be glad to do it for you. Thanks for watching. Please be sure to share this video with someone who might find it helpful. Be sure to like and subscribe so you can get more content like this. My name is Don Harkins. I'm the broker of Sea Dog Property Management. Have a great day.